if I may, I just want to play this before before we move on and be serious.
That is fantastic. That is beautiful. Likely to get us kicked off YouTube as well from that music, but worth it. But worth it. So this video will go out with 7 views by the end of the night because we'll be blocked off YouTube for a violation. But that's all right. Worth it. Completely worth it. Yep. All right. So let's get into this, shall we? This is something. Actually, I got to give credit to Calvin Morgan as well because he messaged me. We got onto this before any of the news media picked up on it. Calvin messaged me and said what had happened, and so I went to Karen's Twitter feed. As you can see, the post it's got his URL, twitter.com/Sean Plunket. That's his handle. Account suspended. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's not such a big deal. You know, people can tell Merrill candidates to go jump off a bridge and get suspended, and you know, it's not such a big deal. It can happen to anyone, can't it, Chewy? Anyone can. It can happen to anyone, can't it, Chewy?
Yep.
Chewy? Anyone.
Yes. It literally anyone.
But what I thought,
the smallest infraction.
What I thought, there's a couple of things going on here, right? Either Elon Musk is woke, because if you disagree with Karen Plunkett, you're woke. So either Elon Musk is woke, or potentially Sean Plunkett's done something pretty significant to come under the new kind of freedom of speech banner that Elon Musk wants to put over Twitter. And it really, to me, feels like it can only be one of those two things: that either Elon's gone woke, which I'm sure is what the narrative will be tomorrow morning on the platform, or some pretty heinous stuff was done by Mr. Plunket to get, and I believe, permanently suspended. We'll have a look at some of the wording and some of the stories that have come out, but that's the belief. What do you think, Chewy? I mean, or I guess the third option is, or Elon is actually realizing his absolutely ridiculous narrative at the start of him taking over Twitter was never going to work, and he's pulled back on a little bit of that. That's probably the third option. I don't like that. That sounds balanced and measured, though, and I don't want to go there tonight. Not balanced.
I think people are reacting to this as like, why has Elon done this? He's one of us. He's our boy. But I mean, Twitter is still a big company and people are still getting these complaints. And if there's one thing that's stood out to me, when what really gets people's attention on a report is a lot of people reporting either the same post or the same person. And as I was talking to someone on Facebook about why we're being very mean, us here on the extreme hard left of, did you know, Pat, I'm part of an army with Byron C. Clark, and we're being orchestrated by Mark Dulder from News Hub. We're a troll army, which is great. I love that for me.
Hang on, can I ask this question then? Does that mean that because since Jacinda's gone, we're not getting our pay pack from her anymore? Do we now get it from News Hub? Is that because I haven't seen it since Jacinda's gone?
Specifically from Mark Dulder, which is great.
Right. So a little brown envelope each week, same as with Jacinda?
I assume it's on the way.
Okay.
But yeah, it has always been the weight of complaints, I think, counts for more than what the complaint actually is about. Now, I got the notification because I reported a whole bunch of Sean Plunket stuff the other week.
Okay,
and I can
so good.
What I reported him for was his outburst around the Christchurch shooting. So he was pointing people in the direction and just asking questions about the Christchurch shooting. So here it's come back and gone, you submitted a report for hateful content. The violation has been found. Other people have reported him for harassment, for reporting, for posting private details, for being abusive. He seems to have been flagged for a whole bunch of stuff. And I assume that all of these reports go into a folder and then someone looks at it and goes, holy shit, yes, delete.
So question, I wanted to just, for clarification, because I didn't see any of this. Contrary to popular belief, who thinks all we do is ever talk about Sean Plunket, we talk about Sean Plunket a fair bit, but because it's fun, so I'm unaware. I don't keep it really close eye on what's going on. was the him directing people, and this is what the news reports are saying as well, to the Shooters Manifesto. Was that like recent? There wasn't like tweets that were picked up from 4 or 5, 6 years ago. That's like recently he was doing
No,
that.
maybe about
Is
a
that the
month
story?
ago. I think within
Okay.
the last month.
Okay.
So, I mean, that gives you kind of a lead time of how long it would take to respond. They're not just hitting the ban hammer straight away. There needs to be that wait, and I guess the time of people to review someone's account.
Well, I wonder
Whereas
if as well, if it happened
Leo
over,
Lloyd,
yeah, if it happened over the weekend, I wonder if also that means that there was like they went back to review it. So like I often get copyright strikes on our YouTube channel, right? Often it happens a lot because we play clips from other people, and then I kind of go, well, we're it sounds weird saying this out loud. We're a news agency, so we come under fair use, and pretty much I've never had a copyright strike stick, but it takes time. And so what happens is you get an algorithm that censors on YouTube, and then you challenge it, and then they have a manual. They actually have a person come and look at it and check it. And I wonder if when that, let's say that happened with Plunket, that he was flagged for that thing a month ago, and then people come to look at it and check it, and it just happened over the weekend, which means the past 7 to 10 days has been full of Posey Parker. I wonder if that added another layer on top to the decision to make it, even though there may not have been as many complaints about that. You know what I mean?
I can't imagine that Posey's visit did him any favors if someone was coming in and going, well, this account has been reported for abuse in the past. What's he doing today? Oh,
Yeah.
holy shit. You know, and like I had someone on Facebook going, oh, you're just trawling back from his tweets from years ago. And I was like, no, you don't have to. You just go to Sean's account, and then you pick 3 things that he said in the last week that breached terms of service, and you hit report. It's not hard. It's not like there's this black hat team of hackers trying to find the one thing that Sean said that was offensive.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Yeah.
And like these people are jumping to his defense saying he's this bastion of free speech. And he's like, no, it's not. No, he's a bully. He's privately funded by a fucking very wealthy family foundation. He's not your guy.
Remember, we always got to say this, who get $300 million of government money a year.
Absolutely.
So we always got to push this. Remember, this has to be said again and again and again, because for some reason, those on the right, Sean Plunket being one of the loudest voices, maybe not biggest voices, but certainly loudest, constantly go on and on and on about how public money means, you know, that there's strings attached. Public money means you're not able to be open and honest because there's things. Well, he may not get it in his bank account from the government, but it goes from the government to his funder's bank account to him. So there's no question. You actually can't even challenge me on this, that he is not at the very least a beneficiary of Plunket money. Government money, like a beneficiary of it, because it comes via someone else to him. So yeah, let's just stop all that bullshit around public money. And I know that they're going to say, well, it's a public interest journalism fund, yada, 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 yada. The reality is Sean Plunket is known because of his career on the public tit, RNZ, Fair Go. That's the only reason he's known. So he's been able to be on the public journalism tit for a huge portion of his career. That gave him profile. That gave him the ability to do other things. That gave him the headline ability to set this up, which his funders have given him a whole bunch of money that they got from the government. So let's just stop all this bullshit around no public money, nothing like that, no public money, because there's no question that no one would know Sean Plunket's name if it wasn't for his career on public money, and he wouldn't have a business right now if his funders didn't get a huge amount of public money. Conversation's over. Let's just stop that bullshit.
Yeah, I have found it very interesting. Like I'm commenting on his Facebook comment about him being banned, and his supporters get real squirrely when you mention the Right Family Foundation.
Yeah, I'm banned from his Facebook page, so I wouldn't know because he doesn't believe in free speech.
Well, let's see how long I last, because I'm not going to put my comments up because they get pretty sweary. But yeah, he put up a Facebook post saying, "Oh, I just got suspended from Twitter. Another victory for free speech." And I jumped on and said, yeah, but the government hasn't thrown you in jail, have they? A private company has decided that your use of their platform breaches their rules. That's easy. Freedom of speech isn't freedom to use someone else's platform without consequences. Freedom of speech isn't freedom from consequences. And then there's a lot of big brain guys that jumped on that comment. Somebody asked me who watches the Watchers. Big fan of the Watchmen there.
We watch the Watchers. That's what we do.
Said, Sean was being a fire hose of sewage. He's an onion made of shit. I will not let that go. It's still funny. And he's doing it while being bankrolled by a fabulously wealthy family trust with zero oversight or standards. He's not a watchman.
Yeah.
And then the back down from that guy, it's amazing. He's like, oh yeah, I do have problems with that.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's like, yeah, a wealthy person is bankrolling him. People aren't comfortable with that, no matter what his message is.
Right. Let's start to have a look at some of it. Now, there's not a lot really known right now, but let's just have to have a look what the media has been saying. Broadcaster Sean Plunket suspended from Twitter. A post on the platform Twitter account on Monday afternoon said Plunket had been, quote, permanently suspended, end quote, with Plunket describing the move as another victory for free speech on his own Facebook page. Screenshots circulating online showed the suspension is apparently due to his breaking privacy rules, as well as the, quote, hateful conduct rule. Plunket said he had no idea why he'd been suspended. Quote, I know as much as anyone, he told Stuff. And let's just have a look at the actual, that's the post that's on the platform, where he says, the platform says, platform founding editor. I should start using that title for me, Chewy. Would we be founding editors? Yeah. Sean Plunket permanently
title.
Permanently suspended from Twitter. At least they didn't juice him. Oh, no. That's pretty funny. Oh my God, the comedy is so good because he'll be stoked about it. Funnily enough, my comment pops up the top here. I don't know why it pops up so quickly, but it says, so, and I have to go hashtag Sean Plunket because he's got no Twitter account to tag him to. So hashtag Sean Plunket being banned on Twitter is an attack on his free speech. Yet, Sean Plunket banning people from his Twitter and Facebook is just fine. Seems like this is a Sean problem, not a broader issue, as he's been very liberal with blocking and banning people. And as you said, Chewy, I think we'll come back full circle. I haven't set up any things to look through, but maybe we'll just come back and scroll through some of these comments at the end of the show. The story goes on. Sorry, we're just finished the story. The story goes on to say, this is what Plunket said. It was likely prompted by complaints from what he called the, quote, anti-women brigade, end quote, who had turned out in force last week. You mean those thousands of women who turned up, along with hundreds of men? Those anti-women women. What? Who had turned out in force last week to protest planned events in Auckland and Wellington by anti-transgender activist Kelly Jean J. Keane, aka Posey Parker. Plunket described the protest as mob rule. Now, this is something I wanted to get to, right? When Plunket and his ilk want something through Parliament, they say majority rules. When they don't want something through, they say mob rule. Now, for a long time, and I'm consistent on this, I have said that the majority shouldn't always be the ones that get to make the decision. If they did, every minority in the world would never get anything through. And when I say minority, I'm not necessarily saying racial minority or gender minority. I'm saying any minority. Chewy, we're dog owners. We're a minority. If the majority got to decide how many dog parks there were, there'd be no dog parks.
Yeah.
Because why should they pay for it? So I've long been a proponent of majority doesn't necessarily make good legislation. Majority doesn't necessarily make good law. However, Sean Plunket and his ilk are very much what? There was a 51% return. That means we should do it. Now, when they like it, that's what they say. When they don't, it's mob rule. Right. Here we go.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. Mob rule and ensuring cancellation of parkas a victory for cancel culture and bullies in the trans and gay communities. It wasn't me who whipped up hysteria about Nazis giving the crowning from the anti-women brigade online, and I'm presuming they complained. However, human rights advocate, I'm not sure how to pronounce this person's name, I've been in contact with him today, Guled Mia, We invited him on tonight. He apologized, but he was busy. One of those to receive notifications of the suspension, much like you, Chewy. He had reported a tweet by Plunket that encouraged people to read the Christchurch Mosque gunman's so-called manifesto. The document was banned by Chief Censor David Shanks, and we've had David on this show talking about that. Go look through YouTube if you want to find out more information. For promoting, encouraging, and justifying acts of murder and terrorist violence against unidentified groups of people. I report, this is what Guled, I apologize for the name, I'm not sure about pronunciation, what he said. He said, I reported it as hateful content. It was inexcusable to encourage his followers to do that. He also reported it to the Department of Internal Affairs, but has yet to hear back from them. He said he understood this was just one of a number of complaints about Plunket's Twitter use. Now, there's another story from TVNZ, which I do want to get to, which gives a couple more examples. But first, Chewy, back to you, my friend.
I actually forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, sorry, dude.
I'm sure it was important, but those thoughts. There's so many thoughts. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend I know what to say here.
I think that there's a really important point to remember, not to reiterate something I've just said, but we don't live in a society where the majority should always decide. But if you're going to be the person who plays that card, and Plunket is that person, you know, the referendum showed 51% didn't want cannabis reform, or I'm making up a story, but then we shouldn't have it. Then mob rule is majority decides. So if this was a mob rule coming after, is what Plunket claims, then that's the majority. That's what mob rule is. That's why I don't like necessarily making all decisions based on the majority decides. It's bad legislation. TVNZ says it this way, and they've got a couple of examples of some other tweets as well. Speaking to One News after his account was rendered inactive, Plunket stated he suspected he'd been banned because of a, quote, rather ironic tweet asking if people supported the New Zealander of the Year awards. Okay, so they've got the tweet.
Not that quick.
Let's show you. Well, let's see. Do you agree with Kiwi Bank's New Zealander of the Year award, says Sean Plunket? Yes, no, or let's beat up women. You know? I mean, like, apart from anything else, we all know that it's very difficult to get across sarcasm in the written form. But if the people saw that as well and went, what are you? Because they may not know that he was trying to be ironic, even though it is one of the lowest forms of humor. And then Chanel Lal, who obviously just won Young New Zealander of the Year, tweeted out quite soon after all the news broke, as someone who has been endlessly harassed by Sean Plunket on Twitter, all I have to say is good riddance.
Yeah. I mean, I think for the people that follow Sean and are fans of his, that is an extremely unhinged, easily weaponized fan base. If he pointed them at someone, that person's social media presence is going to be hellish. I've just had that thought. It's come back again.
Oh, there you go.
Because you can't tag Sean into anything on Twitter anymore. What we're going to have to do is print it out and mail it to him.